Yeah, 10, 4, 80, 2, 7. Bam! Mom! Someone's here! She'll be down soon. Hi. You're Dave, right? Hi. I'm Penelope, but you should not call me Penelope. You should call me Penny, because I've always thought from the moment that my mom told me that my name was Penelope and that I couldn't change it unless I went to court or something, I thought, that is the ugliest name. And so that's why I'm going to be a judge. I'm going to be a judge, and whenever somebody comes up to me and says, hey judge, will you change my name? It's absolutely awful. I'll say of course, because I know how they feel. But Penny's okay. Penny is like luck. Do you want some luck? We keep it in a huge jar on top of the fridge. I'll be right back. There. Made sure it was heads up and everything. Mom says that when the jar gets full, then we can take it to the bank and they'll give us tons of money for it. But I told her, I said, I better get most of it because I am always keeping my eyes peeled for pennies. And last week in the Target parking lot, I found like 5 pennies, and my little sister just doesn't pick up any. And I just don't think that's fair. So you should keep that forever. Because if you lose it, then you'll get 7 billion years of bad luck. In the Bible. So. Who are you? You a spy? It's a spy suit. If you're a spy and you're here to see my mom, that must mean my mom's a spy! I knew it! Mom! I was a unicorn for Halloween. But they said that it was too cold to go outside without a coat. But I have this sparkly leotard that my mom ordered online, and I did not want to cover it up because then how will people know who I am? And my mom is always ordering things online. She's probably doing it right now. One time she spent like 3 hours in the bathroom buying things just because she's lazy. Anyway, my mom said, if you don't put on a coat, then you're going to turn into an icicle. And I said, that's fine because icicles and unicorns are basically the same thing. And we got my horn from the craft store. And then we painted it sparkly because unicorns always have to be sparkly because it's part of their magic powers. I read a book about it. And so anyway, my mom said, you have to wear a coat, little unicorn, or else you're never going to get any candy. And I said, okay, so I put my coat on, and then I was just about ready to leave. But I made her make it sparkly because that is the only way that people are going to know who I am, because of my sparkly coat. And so we were ready to leave, and then these other kids knocked on the door and they wanted candy, but I said, Mom, I want candy. Anyway, people didn't even know who I was. What other creature would have a sparkly coat? You saw the penny I gave you? Good. I Hannah Montana. One time, I go to Camp Wayne, and one time I was at camp, and they were like, Hannah Montana is gonna do a music video. She's gonna come to your camp. And I said, that's great. But everyone else was just freaking out, like, oh my God, Hannah Montana, I love her. And somebody even cried because she was so excited. But she didn't even come, and then they cried because she didn't come. But I was like, I'd rather climb a tree. And my choir teacher is probably the best singer in the entire world. And she sings like, and Hannah Montana is like, and so when I grow up, I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be 10, 100, billion, 40,000 times better than Hannah Montana. I made up a song about spies once, because I used to be one. My spy name was Tigress. Ever heard of me? The song, okay, I remember. It goes, Spies creeping down the halls, hiding out in bathroom stalls. Or can they make to level 5? Can they make it out alive? They are scared, but they are brave. They know just how to behave. Thanks. Oh my God. Hello? They're calling me in. They're calling me in! It's an emergency! Mom! Yes, I'll be right there. Mom, where's my bike? Or my roller skates or something? People are dying out there, Mom! I don't know what you wanted me to say. Did you want me to talk about motherhood? Adoption? I really don't think I'm that interesting. Well, I have 5 kids. The youngest 2 are from Ethiopia. I guess you already knew that. Can I get you something to drink or anything? I was raised in a small town in Iowa. 4 brothers, older, 2 sisters. I didn't really prepare anything. Didn't know you wanted me to tell stories. kids in no school. Well, I can talk about my kids. There's Millie. She's the oldest. She's the sporty one. She plays basketball. She also does golf. She's the most high maintenance out of all of the kids. She gets anxious and scared easier than the other ones, but I think that's just because she's educated. She knows that bad things have happened. She knows bad things are probably going to happen again, and it's hard for me to comfort her when I'm just as scared. And there's Nora, who you met. She's probably the most different out of all of my kids because she's so shy, and I don't know how she gets interested in these things, but she comes up to me one day and she says, "Mom, I want to take manga lessons," and I don't even know what manga is. Apparently it's some type of Japanese drawing, and Nora doesn't want to fit in. She will never be the bubbly cheerleader type, and I love her for it. Then there's my youngest girl, who is the bubbly cheerleader type. She was so easy to raise, and she's just really great to have around, and she wouldn't be in the house if I accepted all the playdate offers that we were given. I have to pick up her costume later. She's in this ice skating show this weekend. Is it okay if I say some personal things? It took me a long time to get pregnant. I waited a long time to get married until I had lived, and I knew that I was ready to settle down and have kids, and then by the time I was ready, God just wouldn't let me. And my husband comes from a family of 6 kids, and I come from a family of 7 kids, and I think that the thought of it just being the 2 of us for the rest of our lives was kind of terrifying to both of us, because it would get lonely and boring. And so we checked out some adoption agencies, and we filled out the papers, and then it was as if filling in those papers told God that we were ready, because then I got pregnant. He finally took me seriously, and I got pregnant, and I got pregnant again, and I got pregnant again, and so 6 years after filing those papers, I had 3 beautiful biological daughters, and then I started getting this itch, like I kept remembering the papers that I signed, and I kept seeing the commercials with the little African children on them, and I remembered that I signed those papers, and so we got back in touch with the agency, and we went through the selection process again. They ended up setting us up with Gabriel, and Gabriel's mother was a teenage mother. I think it was hard for her to let Gabriel go, but she just couldn't afford it. But with Isaiah, he's my youngest. He was the youngest of 7, and his father died suddenly, and so giving him up was not her choice. but she was struggling to feed him with whatever they could grow, and she had sold a lot of her belongings to pay for her husband's medical bills, and we couldn't give them money. You're not allowed to give them money because they don't want it to turn into one of those things where people are having babies just to get paid. But when we met her, well, when we met Gabriel's mother, it was, you know, she was young, she was nervous, she was scared. Her father did most of the talking for her. She was sort of a disgrace to her family. But when we met Isaiah's mother, she just cried the whole time. And we had this picture that the agency had given us of Isaiah, because they don't allow the babies in with you when you meet the parents. So we have this picture, and the picture was the first time that she'd seen him in 9 months, and it's very rural where they're from. There's no cameras, there's no pictures, there's no computers, and so that picture is really all she had. And so I think when we go back and visit her, it'll be hard. It'll be harder for her than it is for us, but I think it'll be worth it, because for the siblings too, because we never got to meet them when we were there. But to lose your husband and then have to give up your baby. When we went back to get Isaiah, we brought Gabriel with us, and so he got to meet his mom again, and it was a really positive experience. She's in high school now. Sorry, I'm usually a bit more awake than this. I stayed up late reading a really great book, really great. I try to allot myself a little bit of reading time each night because, well, I usually get done putting the kids to bed around 9:30, and then that's the first time I've had a break all day, and so sometimes I just end up falling asleep, but sometimes it's nice to get lost in someone else's life. For the royal wedding, me and a couple of my girlfriends who studied abroad in London with me, we got up at 4 in the morning and did a 4-way call, and then I didn't even get a nap. I had to wake up my kids for school. I used to travel so much. But I've lived. Not that this isn't living. I love my kids. I made sure, I knew that I didn't want to get tied down in one spot until I knew that I wouldn't look back across my life and have any disappointments or regrets. And I think I'm happy. And if there was one bit of advice that I could give you, it would be to do what you want to do, and do it now before it's too late. But I'm happy. I'm happiest when I say I'm happiest when everything's going smoothly and nobody there's a fight. So you want to find yourself. Get in the car. Go and hitchhike. You can't really know who you are until you're free. Truly free. Free of obligations, free of to-do lists, free of, the people who tell you what to do. Come on, stick out your thumb. I was here 40 years ago, long hair and skirt flowing in the musical wind. You look nervous. Don't be. It's 1971. Probably the last time in America where you could hitchhike across the country without having to worry about being axe murdered. It was safer back then. We had our own little hippie community, and we had our code of the road, which said if you were cool and if you were hippie, then people would pick you up if they saw your little thumb sticking out of the side of the road, and they would take care of you, they would feed you. Come up with your own code. You in? Alright, this is where we started. This is the first diner that we stopped at. The waitresses have thick accents, but the waffles will melt in your mouth. This is where you might discover your love of blueberry syrup. I took their crayons and Sherry yelled at me for coloring in the back seat. She said, "What, you want them to think you're freaking crazy?" But don't listen to people who try to make your world less colorful. I remember this highway. It smells like manure. If someone is nice enough to pick you up, just go wherever they're going. It's how you'll learn to get over your control issues. It's how you'll learn that best friends, strangers, can become best friends if given 300 miles and a broken radio. There were these boys in a Buick, and here's the hotel where we spent the night with them. If you stay here, you might realize that a shower can feel close to heaven, and being open to love can feel pretty nice too. Here is the little leather goods store where I bought my little leather headband that had 2 feathers sticking out of it. It was ugly, but I loved it. So I'm going to stop here for a second, and I want each of you to pick out something hideous that you love, because I think loving hideous things will make you a good parent. You can barely see it from here, but there's a cliff right over there, way over to the west, and I tried to climb it. I'd never climbed before, and I went on a rock climbing trip with this guy I just met, and I ended up slipping, and I was hanging upside down with the blood rushing up to my face and these tears that I couldn't control sliding down my forehead and into my hair, and nobody knew how to help me. They had to track down the instructor, but I almost died that day. I didn't, but no, it's the almost that's exciting. Now, usually I'm not one for almost. I'll tell you to reach farther, but sometimes it's okay to just hang in the almost. This gas station with the crumbling stone and the word gas painted in red across the side. This is where you'll learn to appreciate music, the power of song. And this is where you might start to believe in God or something higher. A Mormon man picked us up here, and The sun was just coming up and glowing in beams through the trees. And then he started to sing. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to hear you away across the river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to hear you away. I'm bound away across the wide Missouri. See that tree? The one with the indent on it that looks like a door for fairy tale creatures? My friend Sherry made a couple of guys drop us off here because we couldn't agree on who was going to sleep with who. And so we waited 3 hours for our next ride to come. Whatever. This is where you learn to appreciate nature. And you start to feel like a kid again, because when you're standing in the forest, you start to believe in magic again. And this is where you're tested. These moments make us who we are, and we need this hill. I remember standing at the top of the hill, screaming at my friend to see if she was okay, and she says yes, but I don't know if she's saying that she's okay because she's actually okay, or if because he's making her say she's okay. This is when you learn to stay away from lonely men with pickup trucks, gun racks on them, and smell like pickles. Let's keep driving. Drive. Drive until you're low on cash and you start to smell fruit. We met these guys from Napa Valley, and so to earn some extra money we became grape hookers and grape pickers, and I still have scars on my arms from these giant grape hooks. And we worked with people who would harvest the grapes from sun up to sundown with no break and no water because they got paid by the grape. So from now on, you'll stop taking things for granted and maybe smile more, be more grateful. Oh, if you're not 21, don't get caught drinking, because you'll go to jail and it'll smell. Sometimes I'd stick my head out the window just to feel what 55 miles an hour felt like. Woo! By the end of it all, I was broke, and I was so tired, but I was so content because I had found what or who I was looking for. I'm going to turn around, but you should keep going. Bob's a bird watcher. He goes up to this nature preserve with his little binoculars every weekend and just looks at the birds. Daryl, he plays baseball. He's in a community league, and I think he coaches his son's little league every summer. And Carol's an award-winning quilter, and me, I like to run. There is nothing better than when there's not a soul around you and all you can hear is your heart and your chest. And we all have our hobbies. Keeps us sane. 26,000 cases went through our court last year. That may sound like a lot, but every day is different. Somebody says something stupid, somebody says something funny, and bad things. You just stop being horrified by it all, because just when you think you've seen it all, somebody does something else. It's like they're trying to one-up each other. Sometimes we have cases where good kids get into these bad situations. Like earlier this year, a couple of teenagers went out for New Year's Eve and they were drinking and they ended up getting into a fight. And one guy went to intervene. He knocked him over and he got a brain bleed. He ended up dying just because some kid, a goofy kid, just normally a good kid, was drunk. Nobody thinks about the consequences of their actions. And then it's too late. But not all the kids we see are goofy, drunk kids. You know? Sometimes you see the worst, the absolute worst someone can do to another person. I've looked in their eyes and there's just no life left in them. They don't care. I feel that. We had a case, I think it was last year, of 4 guys in their 20s decided that they wanted to steal a van from a guy who was about 40 years old. And so they put a gun to his head, they took the keys, and then they let him inside. And then they started loading things into the van, TV, stereo, that type of thing. And then they realized that the man's 15-year-old daughter was inside. So they dragged her out, screaming to the van, and then they drove around, took turns raping her. She was a model, and she was an honor student, and now she's a wreck. They gave her an STD, and her father's a wreck because he couldn't protect his daughter. And these guys got caught quickly, but he does not have a care in the world. No regrets whatsoever. Or there's this case of this woman dropped her baby off with a friend, and the friend had to run some errands, so the friend left the baby with her boyfriend, and the baby got into the boyfriend's supply of cocaine, and the baby was on life support for 6 years, and then he ended up dying, and the boyfriend did not feel like he was at fault at all for this. The mom should be thanking him for babysitting. We get a lot of senior citizens there's this old woman who used to take in lots of foster children for extra money, and there was this teenager, I don't know why he was placed with her, but he wanted her last $10, and it was our last $10, so she was not giving it up, and so he took her cane and started beating her with it, and then he got a steak knife and cut up her arms. She had to have surgery to repair the tendons. You can't get too emotionally involved in these cases. We always say today's victim is tomorrow's defendant, but there's a little piece of each case that stays with me. My friend and former partner Jerry said that what we're doing is God's work. I like to think so. I said, I like to think that I'm helping. I mean, I know that I'm helping some people, but some of these kids do not want to be helped. I mean, the defendants, it's not as easy as just throwing everyone in jail. We have these programs set up designed to get kids on the right track, but you know, most of them don't take that chance. There's only a 30% success rate. And I don't know what to do. How to we fix the schools, so we help the parents, you know. Most of these kids don't expect to live till they're 21. You and me, we expect to live till we're 80 or 90, but they'll be surprised if they make it to graduation. Yeah, I said 2 weeks ago, I said, I'm gonna do God's work for 10 more years, and then I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna do absolutely nothing. Maybe I'll buy a boat and go sailing. I've always liked the wind. I think I'm about ready to stop.
Aww.